Get started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's CPIC meeting. It is Monday, May 5th, 2025. Just a reminder that tonight's meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the CPIC section of the board's website. Also, just a friendly reminder to please turn your microphones on so that we can hear your comments and questions on the recording. So without further ado, we have a few people joining us late, so we may need to shuffle the agenda a bit, but we'll just see how that goes. So let's get things started. We will turn it over to Becca for our land acknowledgement.
Treaty agreements. We have not acted in good faith or honored our commitments as citizens of Canada or as neighbors. As we see nature coming alive around us, green leaves, early flowers, early crops, and animals stirring, we're surrounded by signs of new life. Let us be reminded of the example of our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. May we too honor and nourish our relationship with all of creation. May we marvel at its beauty and bounty and care for it as the precious gift it is from our Creator God. Guide us in healing our broken relationships with our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit neighbors.
Thank you, Becca. And if I could call on Jackie to lead us in our opening prayer, please.
Let's start with the sign of our faith. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Gracious God, as we gather for this meeting, grant us the wisdom to work together effectively and the humility to value each person's perspective in discussing important matters. You are the source of all knowledge and understanding. Therefore, we seek your guidance, wisdom, and direction in our decision-making process. Help us to listen attentively to one another with open hearts and minds. We ask that you bestow your guidance and blessings upon each attendee. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community and our families. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, so approval of our agenda. Do we have any additions or changes to our agenda?
Good evening. If the update for the bylaws is on there, may I please remove that for tonight?
Okay, so my understanding is that in order for us to remove something that's already on an agenda that's been set, we need to take a vote on that. Okay. Jackie?
If we remove it, how does that work? Do we add it to something else? Do we, a topic that just automatically gets transferred to the next one? What happens?
Well, we need to discuss that.
Oh, okay.
So right now, Barb has asked that we remove it. So we need to take a vote on that. Correct. Go ahead.
You'll need a second. Somebody's to remove.
Does anybody wish to second Barb's request to remove bylaws from our agenda under discussion? Angela? Okay, so Barb has put this on the table. Angela has seconded it, so we will take it to a vote. So by a show of hands, those in favor of removing the bylaws discussion from tonight's agenda, raise your hand. So if you're in favor of removing it, you're putting up your hand. So 1. Those not in favor of removing it? Okay, so clearly that fails because it's 3 in favor, 1 to remove, and 2 are abstaining. Okay, so we will leave it as is. So now I need a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda as is. Anybody want to move it? Becca? And a seconder? Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so agenda is approved. All right, minutes. The minutes of our last CPIC meeting, which was March 31st, were included in your package for tonight's meeting. I don't think it's me. My phone's not even on the table.
I have her phone.
I'm not sure whose feedback that is. Okay, so minutes are included in the agenda package. I need a mover and a seconder to approve our minutes. Labby will move. Okay, and a seconder? Ada. Thank you, Ada. Okay, anybody opposed to approving the minutes? Seeing none? Okay, minutes are approved. All right, moving right along. 3.1 is our board update. Over to you, Superintendent Denolfo.
Thanks, Janelle. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's had a good day. Today marks the beginning of Catholic Education Week. We are all pilgrims of hope, students, educators, and parents. Our communities are working together to support our students in reaching their full potential academically, spiritually, physically, and socially. All of our schools have wonderful activities planned to welcome parents, guardians, and grandparents into all of our schools this week. It is also Mental Health Awareness Week, and together with our school, child and youth counselors, and social workers, many activities and awareness campaigns have been planned to educate our students about the supports available for them in our schools and across Halton. Many of our parishes have begun their first communion celebrations and some confirmation celebrations with their local parishes. Our priests are once again visiting our schools and welcoming families into their churches and our schools for their masses throughout the month of May. Our parish priests have all planned their visits to our schools to plan out the 25-26 liturgical calendar with the schools, outlining the masses, the parish visits, and the sacraments for grade 2 and 7. So that all happens during the month of May. Across our diocese, we are having many changes with some of our parish priests. That happens annually, it gets notified around March, beginning of April, about changes about the parish priest. So one of the main individuals who's been a huge support for Halton Catholic has been our Vicar of Education, is Monsignor Khan at St. Andrews. And so Monsignor Khan is actually stepping down from his role as Vicar of Education. There will be somebody else taking on that role, and he is being moved to a parish in Hamilton. So we're grateful for Monsignor Khan for all the support he has provided to Halton Catholic, and education within the diocese. It will definitely be a loss, but hopefully all the things that he has established will be maintained by the new priest that will take on the Vicar of Education role. And there's many parishes that do have changed priests. So you would be communicated at your local parish about any change in priest. Okay. And the new priest that will be coming in as of June 25th is the new date that they start in their new parish. So before the Christmas break. Okay. In terms of us, in terms of staffing and school organizations, we're well into getting prepared for September, looking at enrollment for September. So we identify the number of classes and the number of sections in secondary. We're planning with our traditional classroom ratios with an average of 24.5 in kindergarten and in grade 4 to 8. And it's 20-1 for grade 1 to 3, but it can go up to 23. And then at the secondary level, we staff at an average of 23-1 for our in-person sections. But as we discussed last year, we have several e-learning courses being offered in our 10 secondary schools. The students were able to select this year the e-learning courses when they did their My Blueprint course selection. So we have more students who have decided to take e-learning. What is encouraged is they take up to 2 courses throughout their high school year. Their high school years. They could take more if it works out for them. With their guidance counselors, we're sort of guiding to say it's important that there's in-person learning and e-learning. So if a student is taking more than 2, that should be a meeting with the guidance counselors just to guide them and understand why they're taking that many. And there's some circumstances because they may be a competitive athlete, or there may be an event that they've been planning for or partaking in outside of school that allows them to take that course. Because e-learning is asynchronous learning. Okay. Just in our secondary schools, enrollment is up across all 10 schools with many new registrations coming from the public school board or from private schools across Halton. So obviously there's some good things happening in our high schools. Okay, we're proud to attract so many new registrations. Our new kindergarten parents have had the opportunity to participate in the kindergarten orientation sessions. Many of the schools did that last week, and those who didn't will be doing it throughout the month of May. Right now, we're into our spring extracurricular activities. Activities that are taking place is track and field, lacrosse, baseball are some of the outdoor sports. But then there's also a lot of extracurricular arts programs that are running in our schools. So many things are up and running, and if your children are part of it, you will know that full schedule has been communicated to you. So many great activities. In special education, last week we had our Best Buddies dance at Holy Trinity. At the end of May, May 25th to 31st, we'll have National Accessibility Week, and Red Shirt Day will be on Wednesday, May 28th. We have our Special Olympics Torch Run, which will take place with Halton Regional Police Services, and our Deaf and Hard of Hearing Picnic. All of our schools are preparing their graduation liturgies and ceremonies, and families who have students graduating grade 8 or grade 12 would have had that information shared with them already. For summer school at the secondary level, we are doing asynchronous e-learning courses for secondary students. Students will have that opportunity that's open that they can select their courses. The date of that delivery of the program changed. It's starting on Monday, July 7th. Okay, so that information went out last week. And then we have programs for grades 6 to 8 students in literacy and numeracy programs that they'll have an opportunity to take in. We also have special education programs that will run from July 7th for 3 weeks. And so again, together with the special education resource teachers, they'll work together with the families to determine if that's a good program for their child to meet their needs. Okay, and it's a regional program that will be run at Our Lady of Victory in Milton. Together with your Catholic school councils, many of the schools are planning year-end events, and I know that through our Let's Connect session, we heard a lot about some of the events that schools are planning, and we talked about the importance of the councils that are in place this year planning for the September startup so that things are on their way. The same way we do a CPIC, we'll be ready for September through this meeting and the next meeting so that we're ready for September. Okay. The voting for the CPIC positions has closed. I think Andrea has just started to look at that information. So once we have the people through the voting process, first we'll reach out to them through Andrea to confirm they accept the nomination, and then we'll bring that back to CPIC. Okay, so, and then the plan is that we will invite all the successful candidates to the May 21st Council Chairs meeting so we can introduce the new candidates. The schools are well on their way for completing their pro-grant initiative that they have done. There's a couple schools that unfortunately their plans changed for some reason, and they've asked if their pro-grant can be carried into September. We did that last year for a couple schools. So I've asked them, they have to resubmit the new, because they're changing the plan. They have to resubmit it, and then it'll come through my office, and we'll earmark that money specifically for that school because it was already placed to that school to make sure they get to use it in September. Okay. One of the things that CPIC had asked was that question around the bylaws. So board lawyer had commented the bylaws didn't really follow Robert's rules. They don't have to, is what she said, but if there's a conflict or if we're not working collaboratively, Robert's rules allows us to follow that format. We've always said that CPIC isn't like the Board of Trustees. First of all, we would like to make decisions around consensus. I think we are a cohesive group and consensus should be the way we make decisions. So I think it's important we keep the bylaws the way we have them, but then there was that recommendation to create that template for Catholic school councils so that the Catholic school councils, if they don't have bylaws in place or their councils looking to amend their bylaws or change them, what should it have? What should your bylaws have at the school level? We've got new schools in our system, brand new schools this year. We opened up 3 elementary schools, and we have Kateri as the new high school, even though it was open for a couple of years in the elementary site. But we have schools who've been around for over 50 years who have something in place. So I think it's important that we don't impose something on all the schools. We have to respect their autonomy, but that if a new group of parents are going in and looking at it and saying, well, we want a more formal framework, then maybe CPIC can do this. And I believe that was one of the things that we were going to discuss at the bylaws portion of the meeting tonight. So that's the update that came through Nadia Tomachenko about our bylaws. Any questions with that? Any questions with anything that I presented or any other questions you may have? Just to comment on two things. Last week we had the vaping presentation out of Holy Trinity with Patrick Brophy doing it. It was an excellent presentation. And we'll talk about it more when we get to that committee report, just about how that was a very valuable presentation, and the SAVIS and One Child was a very valuable presentation. So I think we should talk about where we're going to do them for next year, those presentations. Okay. That's it for me.
There's nothing near me. I know. Anyway, okay. Thank you, Nancy, for your update. Moving right along, over to you, Trustee Duarte, for your trustee update.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Since the last CPIC meeting, we have had one board meeting on April 22nd. At that meeting, there was a senior staff update by a superintendent of spec ed services, superintendent special education, sorry. And she and her team presented on mental health and well-being and the various initiatives being taken at Halton Catholic District School Board. The mental health and well-being strategy and the action plan for 2022 to 2025 was presented. 24 to 25 was presented. Various initiatives are being undertaken at several of our schools. It's a small team of 7 members, and they also prepare professional development and support our staff who are involved with this. At that same meeting, the notable policies that passed: policy VI-01, use of school grounds and community use of facilities; policy V-15, environmental stewardship; policy V-17, distribution of materials. So these were the 3 policies that passed at the last board meeting. There was a staff report on North Oakville number 3, budget approval, and for Our Lady of Victory, the additional facility expansion. The reports were presented at the last meeting. This will be an action item at the next board meeting. So trustees will vote on approving or not approving the budget for new schools, expansion of the schools too. At last meeting, it was a very interesting presentation, and that's the 2025-26 budget consultation survey report. So we have had about 1,300 feedbacks from parents in our system, and they presented, parents give feedback about what they would like to see in the next budget upcoming. By the way, we do not have the information from the ministry on the funding as of now, but we have to do this exercise to collect feedback from our stakeholders. And the main themes that came out from this feedback was parents and staff and students are looking for more focus on STEM, STEAM, technology, faith formation, professional development, and focus on spec ed. So these were the main focus and main themes that came out from this budget feedback. In other items, some trustees have attended another professional development session on the budget presented by staff, and some trustees have attended the OCSD AGM, which is a Trustees Association annual general meeting last weekend in Markham. And that's my report, short and sweet. And happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Trustee Duarte. Any questions for Trustee? No? Okay, thank you. All right, moving right along to our standing agenda items. First up is 5.1, our OAPC update. Denise has not arrived yet, so we will just defer her a little bit. So 5.2 is CPIC subcommittees. First up is bylaws. I know Jerry is not with us tonight, but Barb, Jackie, or Lauren, anything to report other than the school council bylaw piece, which is later on?
We should wait for Jerry. He's not coming. I don't think we have anything since the last time we had the conversation. I believe they were sent in to be updated, and I think that was pretty much, and they should be done, right? There was nothing else that we were, yeah. So, yeah, all done.
Perfect. Thanks, Jackie.
So I can just put some clarity with what I was going to do, kind of as Superintendent D'Onofrio discussed. So just so that everyone's on the same page.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, Barb, but
Yeah.
let's hold on to that when we get to that under discussion items, okay? Because we've set aside a section there for
Okay,
that.
sure.
Okay, so we'll come back to that. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next up is parent and community engagement. So,
For the
Labby,
first time, it's not my update. Because you guys were there. Went well?
It was a very good presentation. The only thing I would say that we didn't have a lot of parents coming. Um, that's probably what you're talking about. Maybe we should change either, I don't know, if you change the location or if you tell, is letting parents know more. I don't know what it is, but it was a wonderful presentation. We learned so much. The parents were there, loved it. They had a lot of questions. I think is one of the questions people were asking was, is this something that we should put in an agenda, like in the beginning of the semester, let parents know? The presenter said, I think it's a 30-minute stuff. I think it should be more. What parents are wanting is, vaping is a big problem. I met one of the parents there and she wants to take her son out of that school just because of the vaping. That's not something we want to happen. My daughter, for example, she went to a private school and now she's in a public school and she's saying the same thing, that something that she never noticed before is the amount of vaping that we have in the bathrooms. And having he's a very good vice principal, because I remember him from Bishop Redding, but not all schools have that kind of principal in their schools to monitor the students like that. So I think is a topic that I think we should consider to, is a very important topic. I think we should, from what parents are saying, should put it more in the agenda, maybe in September, like you said, when we had the meeting. Best either September or October, not now. And I think parents are very engaged with some of the activities in school. So feedback early in the semester and have it as a curriculum thing in school. It was a very good presentation.
thank you, Ada. I would agree on the timing of it. I feel like this time of the year is sort of when spring activities start up again, and we've got lots of end of year activities with graduations and end of year events and things. And I think that maybe, like you said, it's a fantastic topic. We did have, I think, 169 people register, and unfortunately there was maybe 30-ish people there. But it was a fantastic, very intimate conversation, and I agree. I think it's something that perhaps we should bring up every year as one of our reoccurring sessions. But Nancy, I don't know if you have something to add.
I agree. Like Patrick did a wonderful job, and it does. I can be honest with you. All the schools do. First of all, vaping is part of our health curriculum, so that all falls under our health curriculum in elementary, and then it's in the health curriculum in secondary. Okay. So that was the question. They're like, well, are we educating the children about the harmful effects of vaping? We are, and even at the high school level, they do their code of conduct assemblies and they review that with the students, right? But it's not just a school issue. Vaping is a societal issue, right? And so where do we see it, where it started to go really crazy with the students vaping was during COVID, right? From COVID, and then how that has now sort of come into our schools. It is an issue, and so we are, and the ministry has put money into educating and to something to alleviate what the concern is at school, because the traditional, like the presentation showed, there used to be a smoking pit at schools and things like that. We don't have that any longer, but where's the vaping pit become in our schools is in washrooms, okay? And that's where the concern of students who go into the washrooms. And so the ministry is even funding, where we did pilots in our schools for vape sensors in the washrooms. The ministry is actually giving funding to school boards. And so that question came up, where is the funding going for Halton Catholic? Well, it will be in place for September, okay? And then they talked about spaces and why the washroom is the space. Well, because it's got a closed door, you know, and like that vice principal talked about, one of the things vice principals do is actually go around and go into washrooms and ensure that they can break up the crowd who's involved. So it is sad, because he even gave statistics where Ontario in particular, kids smoking prior to COVID wasn't even happening, right? It was really, we had to made sure kids were not smoking. It wasn't favorable. It wasn't attractive to be a smoker. Well, now the way they have marketed, the nicotine companies have marketed vaping, it's really targeted children, right? And he spoke about that. So it is a valuable presentation. So I do encourage, and Patrick said he would be willing to do it. So I think if we can put it in the calendar for September, October, I think it would be well received. Problem is, I do think, like we said, everybody at this time of the year, there's many other commitments, but even our online registration for all of our events, so many people register and who actually shows up is like a third. Every event is that way. So even the Savas presentation, how many people registered? And I think we had, which was a huge crowd, 350, but I think there was over 700 that registered, right? So we realize that, we recognize that. People will sign up because they are interested, but who actually comes, it's always a third.
What about if we do online or virtual or?
And we can do the
Yeah.
presentation, so maybe we can do a combination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else from your subcommittee?
No, I think that we do need to maybe look at restructuring in terms of the dates that we have them. I agree that in the earlier parts of the year, people are much more engaged. So I know we usually wait till sort of November to start our pathway session, but maybe from the end of September till the beginning of February should probably be more of the structure in terms of, just move. So I think that that's something that we need to look at for the engagement. And I know we are going to plan a few for the fall right away so that we can, whoever gets in on that committee doesn't have to worry about it. But I definitely think September to probably February is probably the best time to get everybody in and determine what the priority is. I wouldn't wait till the committee starts in September. I would probably say we should make that decision sooner than later.
The buzz is following me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All right. Thank you, Jackie. No, I do not. Okay, moving right along. School Council Support Committee, that's myself, Angelo, and Emily. So I'll start. Maybe Angela, you can chime in if you have anything else that I've forgotten. We had our last Let's Connect, as Nancy mentioned, on April 10th. Attendance was a little bit less than what we have seen at our previous ones, but there was a scheduling conflict with another event happening at another school, so that may have contributed to the attendance. But as always, a great discussion. Topics, we talked a lot about June events, ideas for what to do for their sort of community event at the end of the year, and a great discussion about creative ways to acknowledge staff, like appreciating staff, as well as appreciating volunteers. We do have our volunteer awards, but as you know, not everybody can win. So how do we acknowledge those other volunteers within our schools? So great discussion. I don't know, Angela, if you have anything to add to that?
No, I just kind of, to your point, it seems like there was a drop off, but it was the people that were there was very informative, and there was a lot of sharing, which is good to see. It's almost like you're making it one big.
Yeah, I really enjoy these sessions. They're different every time. You never know where the conversation will take us, but I feel that we've come a long way in terms of helping councils stay connected to each other throughout the year. So yeah, great session. And I think that's it for us. So next up is social media. Becca?
Okay, so we are continuing to add to our followers. Anytime I see school popped up or trustee pop up in our, hey, you should add, I keep adding and hopefully they follow back. If I could ask a favor of everybody, just because Halton is such a large board, could you hop on our Instagram and look at who we are following? And if you notice that an elementary school or a secondary school in your area is missing, let me know. Because I think that's how we're gaining people is I keep trying to follow the schools, and then the parents who are following the schools follow us. And then it's just this lovely, not so vicious cycle. So yeah, that's all we got. Okay.
Perfect. A little bit of homework for us.
Sorry.
Thanks, Becca.
Janelle, just I wanted to comment. Becca, you're doing a fantastic job.
thank
Your
you.
posts are amazing. They're
thank
timely. You are doing a great job. So thank you very much.
I'm enjoying it, actually. I'm really getting
You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay, Denise, I know you just arrived, but can we circle back to you for the OAPC update before we move on? We'll give you a second.
All right, thank you. I'm just trying to center myself here. All right, so in terms of WAPC, a couple of things. We did have a virtual all regions meeting for WAPC reps on April the 23rd. And at that meeting, we did have a guest speaker who was a parent. I believe she was from the Niagara board, who was doing a presentation on financial literacy for the attendees at that meeting, offering some, highlighting some important tips for not only like families in terms of their own families, but also just parents in general, especially during these times. The other thing that was shared during that meeting that's very important were the early findings from the 2025 OAPC survey. So that is something that we had opened up to parents across the region, including WAPC reps. And we are just getting in sort of the presentation portion of that, that survey through visual graphs. That full report will be released in the future. So the preliminary insights from that is that families are strongly valuing Catholic foundation for their child's education, just a desire for more open communication, consistency in policy implementation. Interestingly enough, the cell phone policy came up again as a discussion for the parents in that meeting as to how that was being implemented, the consistency that some of the parents, again, this is across regions, so it's not just Halton, but the concerns that in some boards there is more consistency happening with the cell phone policy, and other boards it's not happening. So they, OAPC was taking information. They were going to meet with the Ministry of Education and parties to follow up because the ministry was interested in the results of that survey. So I'll be happy to sort of provide more information as that survey comes out and what kind of feedback was given from that particular meeting. And then, of course, the big thing for us is the OAPC conference on Saturday, May the 24th in Niagara Falls. The registration's been open for a while. We do encourage not only OAPC reps to attend, but from any parents from the Halton region. So again, sharing that with school councils and everyone to have the increase in attendance happen. It's this year's theme is centers on strengthening the partnership between parents, educators, and the Catholic community. So that is there. We just finished the OAPC newsletter, which is the Parents for Parents Press for May. So there's some interesting articles there and educator resources as well as parent resources. Please feel free to go on oapc.org to access those resources. That's it for me. Yes.
Can I just, you have in there that it's in Niagara. Can I get a more detailed where?
Yeah, it's
Where?
it's actually at St. Michael's High School. St. Mike's. Yeah.
In Niagara Falls.
In Niagara Falls, yeah.
Okay, then I'll throw that on the post.
Yeah, thank you. So I did send something to Lauren and Janelle about that, just a little blurb
It's
that has
up.
a little more information.
She's up, so I'll edit it and add it.
Perfect. That's excellent. I appreciate that very much for sharing. And that's it for me.
Trustee Duarte?
Thank you. And I think Dennis is being very humble, and I just want to congratulate Dennis on winning the OFC 85 Legacy Leadership Award. You have been very humble. So congratulations. Congratulations from all of us. Well done. Well done.
Thank you very much. As I said, it's been quite the journey working with OAPC since 2017 for me. A lot of wonderful inroads being made in terms of the organization and working with the CPIC, the different CPIC groups that have come through and sort of really pushing forward the presence of OAPC here. I take it for granted because this CPIC and this board runs so well. Honestly, when I hear stories from other regions, it's not this way at all. One particular region I won't mention, one particular school board is they're at odds with their OAPC director. They will not have that person communicate with any parents in the region. there's no information getting out. So this runs so wonderfully. It's just amazing to me. So thank you very much. I also would mention too that one of our parents is also receiving an award as well. At Bonnie Wiltshire is also receiving an award at the OAPC conference for her contributions from Halton as a parent and volunteering with OAPC as well. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Denise. Okay, moving on to our CPIC representation on board committees. First up is Anti-Black Racism Steering Committee. Janelle is not with us tonight. She did not forward an update. Perfect. No update at this time.
She did just ask me to mention that I think it's this week or next week, I can't remember now off the top of my head, that there is an Afro-Caribbean marketplace happening at Holy Trinity. So she just said if you guys can mention that in your communities and maybe come out and support, that would be great.
Perfect. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, bullying prevention and intervention. Barb or Labby?
Yeah, there's going to be a meeting tomorrow. So that's probably it. So we'll have update for the next meeting. And also, Barb is on the committee now.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Focus on Face Council. That's myself and Emily. Our meeting is actually this week, Thursday, May 7th. So we will bring an update to our June meeting. And Journeying with Jesus. Ada? Oh, that's not you. Sorry. Barb.
Hello. There was a meeting, can't recall the exact date, but a lot of information was shared. I mean, you've all probably gotten it in your schools now with everything happening with Catholic Education Week and the actual Walk with Jesus that's coming up. The voting for the Creative Kids Awards is happening now, so there should be results coming. One of the things that did come up that I shared with the committee is we might be recruiting some parents for this Saturday to help with some of the floral deliveries with one of the head systems chaplain. The name has just escaped me. Jillian, thank you. So she'll be following up, and then perhaps I'll be sending that out to CPIC to go through the parent councils to see if we can round up some parents to assist perhaps Friday evening or Saturday morning to deliver some of the flower arrangements that kids are coordinating in their schools this week. And those are going to some extended care facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. And last we have, sorry, do you have a question, Ada? No? No, Emily's not here. On mental health? Yes. No update at this time. So that concludes our board committees. So moving on to discussion items. First up is our CPIC and Council of Chairs proposed meeting dates for next year, 2025-26. We have those, Andrea. So I took a quick look at them, threw them in my calendar. I didn't see any conflicts. February 18th is Ash Wednesday, but other than that, I didn't see any other things that would be of concern. Anybody else? Nancy?
Andrea, just is policy the week after January 5th? Policy on January. Just because that's the Monday, everybody's coming back after the Christmas break, and I just don't know if that works for parents. Is that a good date?
Yeah, and I'm just actually just looking at the distribution of the dates, and I think what we did this year was the January when we bumped it a little bit, so it's not right in that first week when everything is like insane and jet-lagged children and all that fun stuff. But then it's also, we've got a full 2 months between February 2nd and April 13th. So I'm wondering if we maybe look at bumping the January 5th meeting down, like make it like a week, maybe 2 weeks later, like just a little bit more into January, and then bringing the February one a little later as well. And then it's less of a gap before the April one. And it just distributes the meetings a little bit better.
We're a little bit on the timeline because we have to realize that because we've got trustees involved and director involved. We've got policy and we've got board. So that's what I thought. Policy is so. That's why we didn't do it do it on the 12th, Monday the 12th? Because I don't think we want it the day before board. But I'm wondering if we could do it on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Family days, 6. Other than that, there's no reason to want to. Or the one after or the 23rd, then that C.
Yeah, we've got board, yeah. Or we don't have to have one every month either. We don't have to. If we do the one January 12th, and then we use that to plan for council of chairs in February, we don't do a February one.
And we don't have anything in March either. Is that okay?
Would you do the first?
Yeah, you could. Mhm.
Yeah, that might work.
Yeah, so maybe we just do January and we do March 2 and eliminate the February meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, that works.
And then it's 5 weeks out before the April meeting.
Are we in agreement with that, to move that Monday right after Christmas break? I'm looking at you, for you as parents.
I don't want the Monday. I don't know if anybody else is in agreement with that statement.
It sounds fine now, but on the time I'm going to regret it, right? January 5th. Okay, so if we're okay with that, Andrea can make those changes and send it out to us? And the Council of Chairs are okay? October 22nd, February 18th, May 20th? Does that matter at all?
The March date would be Ash Wednesday?
February 18th is Ash Wednesday.
Oh, February 18th.
So if we didn't do it on February 18th.
But wait a minute, our meetings are Mondays. Not
Yeah, we're talking about Council of Chairs.
Oh, council chairs. No, we're not doing council chairs on that. Yeah.
For the 25th? 11? Sure. John's nodding.
Not on Ash Wednesday.
Loaded, loaded. Okay, so let's shoot for the 11th, Andrea? Okay, perfect. Thank you for making those changes. All right. Okay, moving right along. So CPIC Parent Guardian Volunteer of the Year Awards criteria. I put this on the agenda up for discussion, and I'll just give you a little bit of background. I had a parent come to me and say, I'd like to nominate a grandparent from our school. I am the chair of my school. And at first I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Then I took a step back and was like, wait a minute. I think the criteria is parent or guardian. So I sent an email to Andrea and she's like, yep, it's parent or guardian. So at the time I was like, I'm not sure that sits well with me. And the reason why is because at my school, we have some very active grandparents. We actually amended our bylaws to allow grandparents to join our school council. So I'm just putting it out to this group that, is there a need to specify the relationship of the person to the student, or could we just say volunteer of the year award? So meaning if you have someone in your school who's making significant contributions and giving them their gift of time and you want to nominate them, is that not enough? So could we just remove the parent/guardian piece? So that's why this is coming forward and open to everyone's thoughts on that. Becca?
I think that'd be a great idea because we have so many high school students that end up doing co-ops in the elementary schools and other places. And then if they really love it and they keep going back on their own in their own time, why not acknowledge that?
Do we not have any other volunteer awards that we give as a board? Is this it?
Any other? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Is some school,
Switch over.
okay, I have to be in line with the TV to block the speaker. Okay. I think some schools do things independently. Like our school just had their volunteer appreciation today. They invited all of the community members, which does have to be mostly parents, but community members who volunteer at the school. They did a little breakfast and they were all named in the liturgy. So they do, but that's school specific. Like my school did that today. I don't know if I think most schools probably do,
Right.
but that is down to the school to do it. What we do is kind of
Overall.
a little bit
our own
overall
CPIC
overarching
awards, yeah.
for
I
the kind of over and above.
Well, I imagine the reason that we have the parent piece there is probably because we are CPIC, and I imagine that's probably why we have that parent aspect of it, right? As parent volunteers. So I'm indifferent on whether we change it or not. My only concern is that the moment we open it up, what parameters are we looking at? Are we looking at, some people are able to volunteer more because they're retired, let's say, or some people are able to volunteer more because for whatever free time. So I just don't want to set the I don't think I want to open it up as a whole. I'd still like to have a set of guidelines within which we vote on it. I'm okay it not being parents. I recognize that grandparents volunteer and that's phenomenal. But where do you draw the line at this point? Is it just a CPIC volunteer award? Or are we still looking at, family members that have come in to help? So what is it that I just want to make sure we clarify.
I hear you. Yeah. I think I was coming at it from an angle of, if we look at our volunteer pool at our school, who stands out as the person that, not necessarily does the most, but that we want to recognize, right? And so her name came up several times, and I had to say, you know what, we'll take care of her. We'll find a way to acknowledge her and the rest of our volunteers, because the CPIC Awards, there's only so many of them, right? It's one per family of school, right? So we can't possibly acknowledge everyone. So like Lauren's school, they did their own sort of volunteer appreciation and recognition day. At my school, we're also doing the same thing on Friday this week. But it felt kind of odd to say no to them, because she really is someone that I think would be very deserving of the CPIC Award. So I don't know where we want to go from here with it, but my thought was that if there's a school out there that feels very passionate about putting this individual forward, it must be for a legit reason, right? Whether they're the aunt, the grandmother, the parent, the guardian. So I don't know. We don't have to make a decision today, but I just brought it forward because it kind of, at our school, we kind of made the decision that we value our grandparents and that we wanted them to be part of council and have a voice there. So we amended our bylaws, and then I was like, and now we can't acknowledge the great work that they do. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
The other piece too, I think that's important is when I'm looking at the nominations themselves, there were some that were phenomenal that just did a lot. And then there was another, maybe a family of schools that they're deserving, but not to the same degree. So I think when you do open it up, you're allowing out somebody who's done significantly more to be in there for it to be more competitive in terms of the actual award. Because there's a huge difference depending on, how many schools are in there and sort of how long they've been around in terms of what's there. So I agree with opening it up, but I guess we wouldn't be able to do it for this round. We'd have to do it for.
It would be for next year, yeah. Nancy?
Maybe a recommendation. So because they're supposed to be parent awards, but there's all these other volunteers. And if CPIC wants to recognize that there are, like what you just said, Janelle, many parents, what if we actually said, like, they can do their parent, that's the CPIC award, but maybe we have another category and maybe it's not 10 other ones. Maybe we can decide there's going to be 3 other system awards, like one from Burlington, one from Oakville, one for Milton, and they don't have to be a parent, but a volunteer, and we can do it something like that. Maybe 4, Georgetown, Milton, Oakville, Burlington.
Sure.
Like that might be just how does CPIC capture all those other volunteers? Because the CPIC award is for parents because you're a parent committee, but we realize maybe it would be something like that.
So the suggestion would be to add an additional 4 awards that could be for anybody.
Anybody, one by region.
So then would we allow, the schools would have the option to just select a parent, or if there was someone else that didn't meet the parent category, they could also submit a second name
Yes.
under
And
there.
we can consider that as like part 2 of the award.
I like that idea.
That could be an idea. And we don't have to decide that tonight, but maybe that's how we capture it,
Yeah.
because I agree, like, we're blessed that we have so many volunteers that come into our schools, and sometimes it isn't the parents, because, grandma and grandpa are helping out.
And these awards don't come up again next year until this time, right?
Yes.
April, spring. So we do have some time to work on how we want to amend that. Okay, perfect. Thank you for your input. All right, where are we? Moving right along. School council bylaws, Barb.
Hi there. So I just wanted to kind of explain myself a little bit so that everybody understands why I asked to remove bylaws from the agenda. So as Superintendent Denoffel mentioned in her update, there was a recommendation to set up a bylaws template for new schools. I volunteered to put something together. I'm still in the process of putting something together. So you all haven't received something for me for today's discussion related to that template. So that's why I asked to remove the bylaws from the discussion, from the agenda, but I see it, I should have said from the discussion category. But I do see that there is some interest and that there has been, talk already about the topic. So just even from a general discussion perspective, so I open the floor to that. So I hope that kind of explains it. I'd like to send a message to the group, but I know there's other members who didn't receive that message.
Okay, thank you, Barb. So just to give everybody sort of some background, the plan was to have, the timeline sort of was agreed upon at the subcommittee, the bylaw subcommittee, which both Lauren and I were at probably about 2 months ago. So the plan was for Bob to take a look at some sample bylaws and to look at some trends on what sorts of things run common within those bylaws, and then come to us with something, sort of a shell or a guideline that we could then offer to school councils. So the thought was that by this meeting, we would have something tangible that we would have reviewed before this meeting to discuss, to then have Barb and the bylaw committee take that away, fine tune it, and then bring it back to our June meeting in order to sort of pass it, so that we could then roll it out to school councils come September and sort of present that. So it's a bit disappointing that we don't have that today, because now I'm not sure that we're going to meet that timeline. So I think in the interest of time, maybe what our next step should be is to sort of take this discussion offline back to the subcommittee to talk about how best we can sort of meet this timeline, because the work still needs to get done, right? We still need to move this work forward. So we'll have that discussion, and then we'll update you guys at the June meeting. Does that sound fair? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Trustee Duarte.
Actually, question for Superintendent Denolfo. Do we know how many schools do not have bylaws? I know lots of schools have. How many do not have? Just a rough count.
Trustee George, I think all schools have bylaws, okay? We are hearing that maybe bylaws weren't presented to the Catholic School Councils. That's the information. But they've been told clearly every school has to have bylaws. It's in our procedure. It's clearly documented. They receive communication. So I heard about one. One did come to my attention. I haven't heard about others.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The other piece I think that's important to mention is that school counselors are supposed to review their bylaws every September, and I think sometimes that doesn't get done. So bringing that to council's attentions, and we thought that it would be timely that if they were reviewing their bylaws during that first or second meeting of the school year, that they could then sort of look at theirs and measure them against what we think are some of the key things that should be in bylaws, and then sort of find those gaps and sort of come up with a new and improved set of bylaws, so to speak. So we thought that it might be timely.
Yeah, and then if I can just jump in on it as well. I'm standing in front of the TV. The other thing we kind of heard was that like there's some schools who do have bylaws, but like how formal and complete they are is kind of all over the map. Some are like really kind of just loose and cursory almost, and some are like a lawyer wrote them, and then everything in between. But then there's no like guideline on like, okay, you should really make sure your bylaw covers, just to throw examples here, like it should cover elections, it should cover attendance, and it should cover meeting frequency, as an example. So you might then get a school's like, okay, well, we have stuff about meeting frequency and one of the others, but we don't have the third one. And then it's happened. It happened earlier this year where then one school had an issue with one of their elections, and they were like, well, what do your bylaws say? And they're like, oh, our bylaws don't actually cover anything about elections. So that's an issue. So it's also like by having the shells, it's just like, just make sure like your bylaws should cover A, B, C, D, E. Double check that they do. You at least have something written. And if you don't have anything, here's some example verbiage around it. So you can fill in those gaps. That's kind of what we were going for.
Thank you. Makes sense.
The other piece is that we want to have it ready to go by the time, because we have a July and August we're off. So we want to present them something so that they have something when they start in September, right? And they have time to sort of put it together for themselves as well. That's an important piece.
That's why we wanted it signed in, that's why we wanted it like finalized by our June, so that it could be done and dusted and it's ready to go.
Nancy?
So what happens with the new, because it's a new council every year. So in September, it goes out the nomination forms. So the first council won't come together until usually it's the first week of October. So at that October meeting, what's supposed to happen, and that's sort of a template which we've shared with the schools and through the package that we give to chairs, is that at that first meeting, you present the bylaws that they are in place for now and review it for the November meeting. So we have that in our sort of guidelines for them. But we do know that some schools, for whatever reason, they didn't need to have it, or they didn't have it and they didn't tighten them up a bit. So this will be helpful if we, from CPIC, have something to give to them that they can follow. Okay? So that was the spirit of what we said we would hope CPIC would do this year.
Okay, to be continued. All right, other business and future agenda items. We have a draft agenda for our Council of Chairs meeting, which is coming up on Wednesday, May 21st at St. Kateri. And we're doing it in the same space we had our Savas presentation, correct? So it's a nice, big, beautiful space. Okay, so we have the standard stuff. Thank you to those who volunteered to help us out. I know the students, have we confirmed that they will be doing our land acknowledgement on our opening prayer? Perfect. So we're going to do a quick welcome. We're going to introduce our new CPIC members for the new 2025-2027 term. And we're going to also acknowledge those around the table who will be leaving us, because Jerry and Emily and whoever else, we want to acknowledge the contributions that they have made over the years. Then we will have some opening remarks from Director Klein and Trustee Duart. And then Denise will do an OAPSI update. And then we are going to acknowledge our volunteer winners. So those awards, we will have those people. We will invite them to come to this. I'm assuming we're going to have a gift of some sort. And we will get all of those names ahead of time so that we can practice pronouncing their last names and acknowledge those individuals for their contributions in our schools. And then we have a presentation by Sarah Westbrook. So that's going to take up pretty much the bulk of the rest of our meeting. So she'll do a presentation with a Q&A period, and then we'll do our closing remarks. And that will be a wrap for the year. Are we okay with this agenda? Nancy, do you have anything to add?
Just so that CPIC knows, so Andrea will tabulate and get all the information around the election, so the 5 new representatives. The communication will go out to them. Do they accept the nomination? Then we will share that list with CPIC. So then everybody on CPIC knows, and then the invitations will be to invite them to the Council of Chairs meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns with the agenda? And of course, we want to make sure that we have great CPIC representation that night. Okay, perfect. Our next CPIC meeting is, sorry, Lauren.
Sorry,
Perfect, thank you. And then our final CPIC meeting of the year is June 2nd at 7 p.m. I unfortunately probably will not be here. My daughter's having heart surgery that day. So unless the schedule changes and we get bumped, I won't be here. So Lauren will be chairing. And if I'm not here, I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone around this table. I enjoy being here and I love working with all of you. So if I don't see you after tonight, have a great break and hopefully we'll see you guys around this table in September. Okay, I think that's it. So I'm going to turn it over to Jackie for our closing prayer.
Okay, let's start with the sign of our faith. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. Thank you, Lord, for the ideas that you spoke into life here today and for the courage of each voice that stood to be heard. Bless all of us in this meeting today. As we bow our heads and lift up our plans to you, we pray that you bless our hearts and minds to know that we have done well in your eyes. We pray for your assurance that we are operating within your will. Bless us, Lord, as we leave here to take your passion with us, fan its flame after we part, and inspire our best contributions. Remind us always of your love as we see our plans unfold and accomplish the goals we set. May the strength of God sustain us. May the power of God preserve us. May the hands of God protect us. May the way of God direct us. May the love of God go with us this night and forever. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Jackie. Have a great evening, everyone.